Before I get into this video, I want to inform all you guys that I am hosting a summer kickoff tournament over on my Discord. It is a $6 entry fee, but the prize pool is extremely large. We have $100 US for first, $50 US for second. Top 4 will receive $20 US as well as free entry into any future tournament of their choice. And top 8 will receive $10 USD. Along with this amazing prize pool, we have a lot of very, very large names from the Speed Duel community joining this tournament. We have a Vault registered for the tournament. We have Rook's Table registered for the tournament for the content creator side of things. And then for the competitive side of things, we have Freezequi, who is currently known to be the best player in the Speed Duel community as a whole, winning both of my previous tournaments. And we also have Terramaster as another example, who took first place in Justice tournament and took top 4 in my last tournament. We have a lot of competitive players, a lot of big content creators, and I would love to see more of you guys join. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Curseof and welcome back to another video. Today we are here for another Yugioh discussion, and today we have something fairly interesting. We are here to talk about 5 cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duel format that created a huge impact but were absolutely worthless in the advanced format. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our very first card here. So, the very first card I have on this list, and this list does have an order of what I think has been like the most relevant climbing up. So starting off here at the number 5 spot, we have Pharaohs Treasure. This could also be Slash Mask of the Accursed if you really wanted to, but regardless, I feel like they both kind of did the exact same thing, and I feel like Pharaohs Treasure was a more useless card than Mask, so I opted to put this one on the list. But Pharaohs Treasure basically states, shuffle this card face up into your deck. If you draw this face up card that was added to your deck by this effect, send it to the graveyard, then target one card in your graveyard, except this card, add that target to your hand. Obviously, at first glance, just reading this card effect, it really does not seem like much, and for the advanced format, it really wasn't much at all. But what this card did offer to the Speed Duel format was create, and I'm going to use this a few times here, a infinite for a stall package. Using Pharaohs Treasure plus that of Jar of Avarice created what a lot of people in the community referred to as a infinite. Basically, you had your Jar of Avarice recycling Pharaohs Treasure, then you had Pharaohs Treasure recycling Jar of Avarice. Obviously, Mask of the Accursed Mask of Darkness offered the exact same thing, with its flip effect being target a trap card in your graveyard, add that target to your hand. Now, those of you wondering why it's relevant, why Pharaohs Treasure was ever relevant alongside Mask of Darkness and why just not using Mask of Darkness, obviously some people might have feared things like Michizor popping the Mask of Darkness, but beyond that, we do have cards like, decks like that of Spellproof Armor, and maybe decks that just can't run the Mask of Darkness for whatever reason. Pharaohs Treasure was that alternative option, and some people just preferred Pharaohs Treasure over the Mask of Darkness. Regardless, this card did see a lot of play, especially in the previous format and the format before that, where Stall did have some very decent relevance. And yeah, this card basically was one of the side deck cards alongside Mask of Darkness for that Stall matchup, and was an absolute necessity to run. And that is our number 5 slot. Moving on here to number 4, we have none other than the Sword of Deep-Seated. Obviously, in the advanced, this card is absolutely worthless. It's literally just worse version of Horn of the Unicorn. This card just simply states, the equipped monster gains a 500 attack/defense. If this card is sent to your graveyard, place it on top of your deck. Okay, what the hell made this card so useful? Well, the thing that made this card useful at all was more or less the viral infection skill, allowing you to basically discard any card from your hand and then choose a target in your opponent's deck, being either monster, spell, or trap, and forcing your opponent to go ahead and basically just send those cards to the graveyard. It was Very, very prevalent in that stall strategy, because as soon as it hit the graveyard due to your skill effect, it would add itself right back on top of your deck, creating and I'll quote it here once again, an infinite for the format. This made stall decks crazy powerful and basically made them unbeatable to a very, very strong degree. Forced people to start using cards like that of conscription to try and get around this whole stall package and stall idea. And for a while, this was a card that you truly did have to fear, and a lot of people were siding in that one copy of conscription to try and take care of this issue. Was stall the top tier best deck in the format that this was most used in? No, it was not. But regardless, stall was definitely a big threat, definitely something you had to watch out for, and this was definitely one of the cards that's seen a lot of play and forced a lot of people to play differently. And that's why it does take the number 4 slot in this video. So you guys are going to start seeing a trend here. Obviously, Pharaohs Treasure didn't have this trend, but you've seen that sort of deep-seated became very relevant in speed duels because of a skill effect. That trend's basically going to continue. Next off, we have Eradicating Aerosol. This card basically just simply states, destroy all insect monsters on the field. At first glance, it might be good against a insect deck, but beyond that, what is its real purpose? We have a skill. Obviously, I just said this trend was going to start. We have a skill in speed duels called Hidden Parasite. What this skill does is you can use it twice per duel, so you basically had 2 aerosols in your deck. What it did was you flip this up and you turn all monsters on the field into insect monsters. It basically made your Eradicating Aerosol act as a pseudo dark hole alongside this the skill effect. This thus then created a deck that had 2 copies of Dark Hole in it, which is a very, very powerful card to have in the speed duel format, being able to just board wipe your opponent and basically just allowing you to recover from detrimental circumstances with a single top deck using this skill. The first 2 cards I mentioned and why they are below this one and the next 2 is because they were not cards that completely ran the meta and became the best deck or best skill or best card in the meta, but Eradicating Aerosol was. When Hidden Parasite did get released in the starter decks that are called, I think they're called Ultimate Predators, I think that was the starter deck. The Eradicating Aerosol with the Hidden Parasite became basically the only skill that people really ran in the meta. And yeah, this card basically just took over for a little bit there. It was very, very powerful, very, very explosive. The reason that it isn't above the next 2 is because it still did allow for a bit of creativity. It wasn't like Hidden Parasite was a specific deck skill. It was a generic skill that could be run in any deck. And that's what made it not as high as the rest, but obviously a format-defining card, making it the best skill in the format. This card naturally takes the number 3 spot. Coming in at number 2, we're into the monsters here now. We have Serpent Knight Dragon. Serpent Knight Dragon is obviously just simply a level 7 dark normal dragon monster, 2350 attack, 2400 defense. You may as well look at it as worse Red Eyes Black Dragon. But what made this card absolutely amazing in the speed duel meta was none other than a skill called Nightmare Sonic Blast. So what this skill basically did was if you controlled a face-up Serpent Knight Dragon, you could mill the top 4 cards of your deck, and based on the number of monsters milled, you could activate one of the following effects. Basically, if there was 1 card milled, you got to add one monster milled, you got to add one of the 4 cards to your hand. 2, you have to pop one of your opponent's monsters, and 3, you got to use both of the previously mentioned effects. This made Serpent Knight Dragon absolutely absurd to play against. You had a 2350 beat stick, which was one of the biggest beat sticks in the game at the time, and along with that, you just had easy pops and easy searches, like pseudo searches for your deck, which made it extremely, extremely powerful. Sure, you had to spend a monster and a tribute doll to get out Serpent Knight Dragon, which was a neg 2, but the skill, because you basically ran your bunch of monsters, 3 tribute doll, and 3 summoner's art. So your skill is basically always a +2, which means your first turn that you summon Serpent Knight, you go neutral, and every turn following you are plussing by 2. This was absolutely absurd, absolutely amazing, and the Serpent Knight Dragon deck just completely ran the meta for a very, very long time. Yeah, and that's why it does get above the Aerosol deck, just simply because it was a format-defining card that only allowed really for Serpent Knight Dragon to play and not for a bunch of decks to play. But yeah, this will be our number 2 spot with that Serpent Knight Dragon. Useless normal monster, but absolutely obliterated the speed duel meta. Finally, we're here at the number 1 slot. I'm sure a lot of you guys seen this coming right from the start. We're here with Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth is obviously a really, really big beat stick, but it may as well be a normal monster because its effect just has to do with Petite Moth equipped with Cocoon of Evolution. Basically, it just says cannot be normal summon / set. Must first be special summoned from your hand, so you also have to draw this card by attributing 1 Petite Moth on your 6th turn or later after it was equipped with Cocoon of Evolution. You need to have a really, really garbage Petite Moth on field. You need to equip it with another garbage card being Cocoon of Evolution, wait 6 turns, have Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth in your hand, and tribute both those cards to summon Moth. And then you just have a beat stick with no effect. Yeah, that's not very good, is it? But as for speed duels, it became amazing, just like the last 3 cards, because of a skill. We have a skill in the speed duel format called Cocoon of Ultra Evolution that came out not in the most recent 2 starter decks, but the set before that being Trials of the Kingdom. This skill card completely warped our meta and has created a Cocoon deck or a Moth deck or a Parasite deck, whatever you want to call it, that has been tier 1 for the last 2 formats now, and has been tier 1 for maybe over a year at this point, or getting close to it, which is really, really insane. Basically what this skill does is it allows you to tribute any monster on field that is equipped with any insect on field that has an equip card attached to it, just like the normal Cocoon of Ultra Evolution spell card. But it's a skill, so you are never required to draw it, which basically turns your single Parasite Paranoid that equips to a monster into an easy +2 as you remove your opponents, get rid of Parasite Paranoid, and you special summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. That's a +1, and then your skill then allows you to shuffle back in an insect, so you can immediately shuffle back in that Parasite Paranoid, shuffle your deck, and draw another card that's a +2. And then along with that, Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth is the biggest non-fusion beater in the entire game currently. So not only does this deck give you access to a +2 easily, the best removal in the game as far as I'm concerned, and the biggest beater in the entire game outside of Arcana Knight Joker and Blue Eyes Ultimate, which are both fusion monsters. It made this deck extremely, extremely aggro, extremely, extremely aggressive, and a lot of times you'd summon 1 Moth from deck, and then Parasite's effect to trigger Engrave, and you summon another one from hand, putting this much damage on board versus your opponent, and you have not even used up your normal summon. Don't forget, in the speed duel format, we have 4,000 life points. A single Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth is nearly game. If you have back row hate in that of Night Beam or Dust Tornado set, you're in a circumstance where you're basically just going to outright win the game versus the Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. And yeah, this deck has been running our meta for a very long time, like I said. So although it did absolutely nothing in the Advanced Master Rule format, the Speed Duel format, it has been creating a lot of havoc and maybe making a few people quit the game, who knows. But regardless, hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please hit the like button down below and also consider subscribing. I have some very, very big content and I guess projects coming up in the future. I'm really excited to show you guys these projects. I'm really, really excited from the drop. But regardless, you'll just have to wait and see when it comes out. Hopefully I'll catch you guys for another video, if not tomorrow, maybe the next day. Anyway, that's a wrap, guys.